Hello, everybody. How you all a doing tonight? We got a nice little radio special all worked up for you. We got the residents. We got other special guest stars. How about that? Well, here we go. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, the residents from San Francisco. This is Sid Powell in the RAO studios in Houston, Texas. I'm here with Mr. J. Clem, representative of Ralph Records. The residents themselves are in the studio with us, but are refusing to join us in the interview. They are apparently content to walk around the studio banging on instruments and making strange noises. Now, perhaps Mr. Clem will tell us the very interesting story behind the selection we just heard, Death in Barstow, from the residents' EP, Babyfingers.
Glad to, Sid. Babyfingers was originally the third side of Fingerprince, the Residents' latest album. The Residents had recorded a three-sided LP to be released as such. Ralph Records disapproved this action due to the economic infeasibility, and a compromise was reached in which this extra material was pressed into an EP and is included with the Fingerprince Collector's Edition.
Well, that's very interesting. Perhaps you can explain another story then, Mr. Clem. I understand that the residents simply hate and abhor the Beatles. What can you say about that?
Sid, that's absolutely false. The residents do not hate the Beatles. They have simply expressed an attitude which indicates boredom with the present-day rock and roll culture.
All right, then, perhaps you can explain to me why the rumor is currently running rampant through Australia that the Beatles are, in fact, the residents.
Such a rumor exists, Sid, because Ram magazine in Australia published a story supporting the argument that the residents are, in fact, the Beatles.
But this is, of course, untrue.
It's absolutely untrue, Sid.
But then maybe it explains why the residents have released their new single with a Beatles song right on it.
Well, it may or may not explain that, Sid. It just so happens, though, the residents did record Flying, a Beatles tune from the Magical Mystery Tour album. You may be more interested to know, however, that the Beatles themselves perform a resident song on the flip side of this very same record.
Aha! It must have been really tough to get those lads back in the studio again.
Tough it was, Sid. In fact, the Beatles don't even know they were there.
Let us hear this controversial new single right now.
Everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done, we've tried. Please, everybody, if we haven't done what we could have done.
We'll be back to the resident special in a moment.
residents one more time, this time playing Satisfaction. Once again, they've butchered up an old-time hit. I'm Sid Powell here in the RAO studios with J. Clem, representative of Ralph Records. Mr. Clem, did indeed the residents perform this music live last year?
That's right, Sid. Last year at the Rather Ripped Records' 5th annual birthday party, the residents made their second ever live appearance, an appearance in which they actually appeared as mummies and were assisted by the appearance of Alpha and Omega Berry, the Siamese twin tag team wrestlers.
Siamese twin tag team wrestlers indeed. Well, perhaps you can explain to me why they don't perform more often, Mr. Clem. Is perhaps the show as bad as the music?
Indeed not, Sid, although it could appear to be that way to the lesser intelligent members of the audience. The simple fact is that residents are a bit reluctant to expose themselves in public.
Well, let's hear some more of this resident's music.
Okay.
Fuzzy, the little wit. Skip the great. Concern, make it feel. Your drinks, and feeling like, and feeling like a weed. And feeling like a weed.
Legs are social traits like the names of those foreign faces. What more could he do? He polished up the deli, spread and put his mother back in bed, and then he went home too.
And that was Loser is Congruent to Weed, the flip side of the resident single, Satisfaction. Now, Mr. Clem, I've read that Trouser Press magazine has referred to Satisfaction as the most determinedly repellent music ever heard. Can you comment on this?
I'll be glad to, Sid. I can certainly see the point of view for that contention. I think, however, the key word here is determinedly. One should question the purpose or intent of this work, and if they do, I'm sure that they will agree that this is, in fact, the most determinedly repellent music ever heard.
Well, is there then any truth to the rumor that the residents are very seldom seen out in the daytime?
Quite true, Sid. The fact is we frequently have to have their food sent in to them.
Now, don't you feel a little foolish in this position? You're no more than babysitters to a group of malcontented young fops.
Be that as it may, Sid, we here at Ralph Records and the Cryptic Corporation support the residents in their point of view concerning the sorry state of affairs of this culture. We further feel that it's necessary to take certain supportive action to ensure that the residents, as well as other artists like them, are able to exist and to function in this culture, which will in turn ensure that the culture has a future rather than having only a past.
Well, maybe you have a point there. Let's get on with some more of this so-called music. Now we have the residents' Melancholy Lassie from the EP Babyfingers.
More information on the residents' music is available in a free catalog from Ralph Records, 444 Grove Street, San Francisco, California, 94102. We'll be back after station identification.
Okay, we are back in the RAO studios in Houston. This is Sid Powell with Mr. J. Clem, representative of Ralph Records. During the next few minutes, we will be hearing some of the early Residents material. The first selections will be a medley from the 1972 release Santa Dog. Mr. Clem, can you comment on this Santa Dog?
Sure enough, Sid, Santa Dog was the residents' first press record. It represents their 1972 Christmas card, as well as being the first official Ralph Records release.
Well, I understand that the last few copies of this recording went for the ridiculous price of $25. Is this true?
Absolutely true, Sid. In fact, it was quite a deal at $25. I understand if somebody wanted to buy one today, they'd have to go as high as 50 smackaroos.
Well, wonders never cease. Let's hear some of this Santa Dog.
Santa Dog's a Jesus.
Something Powell and Mercenary left a pile of turkey very near a little Spanish town. And every day the big cranberries peer into the mouths of Marys, being held for nothing more than being what was there before all this happened.
Do you ever wonder who you are?
Kick a cat.
Kick a cat.
Kick a cat today!
Fish are dumb. Puff an eye from one.
Kick a cat.
Kick a cat.
Kick a cat today!
Fish are dumb. Puff an eye from one.
Kick a cat. Kick a cat today!
Fish are dumb. Puff an eye from one.
Kick a cat. Kick a cat today!
Fish are dumb. Puff an eye from one.
Kick a cat today!
Fish are dumb. Puff an eye from one.
We travel further back in time to the days of the residents' very beginning. Now, I understand that the residents at this time were working with and highly influenced by two figures, the mysterious Senada and the British guitar player Snakefinger Lithman.
That's right, Sid. Let's talk about Snakefinger Lithman first. Snakefinger had caught word of the residents' experimental music and tape recording work they were doing at the time, and incidentally, Sid, some of these residents' tapes are said to have found their way into Germany back in the early 70s and actually influenced some of the early German avant-gardists.
Aha!
Anyway, one day Snakefinger arrived in San Mateo, California, where the residents had their studios at that time, and they began to get acquainted and did some work and actually produced some very interesting tapes.
Well, let's hear some of this Snakefinger. Now we'll have the residents doing Frank Zappa's King Kong with Snakefinger Liftman on guitar. Now, Mr. Clem, I understand that the mysterious Senada was highly influential on the residents' philosophic background. Now, how can this be, since he has been said to speak no English?
Well, Sid, it is true that the mysterious Senada spoke very little, if any, English. However, he did find the English language quite fascinating, and he was quite fluent, verbally as well as musically, employing the theory of phonetic organization. A synthesis of the two produced very good results in the situation. It was this musical implementation of phonetic organization that was so highly influential on the residents' music.
Now, wait just a minute. Perhaps we should hear just a little bit more about this phonetic organization.
Okay, Sid, I'll try to give you a little bit about that. Now, it's a little tough to try to explain in English, but if I actually implement the theory of phonetic organization, I can just come like this.
Well, perhaps we should hear it from the mysterious Senada himself. Here he is with the residents doing Kamakazie Lady.
Kamakazie Lady lives in the night. She likes the chicken singing going to west side. She knows the way out when I'm holding you here. And see the silly separating on me.
The
is still Sid Powell in the RAO studios with J. Clem, representative of Ralph Records. We've just heard one more of the residents' songs, Whoopy Snorp. Can you comment on this one, Mr. Clem?
Yeah, Sid, Whoopy Snorp is part of the album entitled Glorp Set, a production by the Los Angeles Free Music Society. The usage of this song was donated by the Cryptic Corporation to Lapham's for that purpose.
And as I understand it, this album contains quite a few selections, all performed by typical California idiots.
Yeah, well, Sid, possibly typical California idiots if you're a typical dumb Texas redneck bigot.
Well, now, as I understand it, the residents have a new project in the works. It concerns the Eskimo culture and, once again, this mysterious Senada. What's the connection?
The connection, Sid, is that our longtime associate, the mysterious Senada, has been residing for some time at the North Pole and living with the Eskimos. Recently in the mail, sent to the residents a cassette tape comprised of various audibles connected with various cultural festivities, which are a very integral part of the Eskimo culture. It is upon this very concept that the residents have set about to do their next album.
And you mean to tell me that you actually believe this fabrication?
Sid,
that these residents
Sid,
came to you with this story and you went for it?
I personally know the mysterious Senada very well. I know him to be a very distinguished gentleman of unquestioned credibility. I personally have heard these tapes, and I will personally verify to their authenticity.
Now, wait just a minute. Let's get something straight here. Why are these residents walking around this room?
Yeah, let's do get it straight. Let's do get it straight. What they're doing, Sid, is performing for you their very most recent composition, which they were so gracious enough to do to help us out with this radio special, just like we agreed. And here you go trying to put something down that you don't even understand.
Now, look here. You might go for that. You might swallow that, but I don't.
Yeah, well, that's your shortcoming, Sid. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, at least they're doing
you
something.
You don't have the scope to appreciate this thing. That's your hang-up.
Well, now, wait a minute. Let's come on here now.
Yeah, you come on.
Why won't they sit down here and interview with us?
They're more interested in the art than they are the personal exposure. They're not into this for glory. They're into it for the betterment of our culture.
Now, we've got one more thing to do here. We've got to get in the residents' play one more section. All the way now on the Interviewee. Let's get out.
Walter Westinghouse went to town. He found a friend today. His friend was peeling sealing wax as he heard Walter say,
"Love me tender, love me sweet, love me like I love coffee. Sit me down with Ezra Pound, but don't forget to eat. Cause a country boy to cook a carrot or a cake, but don't forget the feelings of a friend are hard to fake."
Houston, Texas. Copyright 1977, a complete corporation. All rights reserved. For free catalog of the Residence Records, write Ralph Records 444